Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hari Hari, Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari, Hari Kṛṣṇa, Hari Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hari Hari, Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari, Hari Kṛṣṇa, Hari Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hari Hari, Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Gadadhara, Shivasadi, Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Ah, yeah, your little Krishna book. Krishna, Radha and Krishna, Vrindavan, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. This is summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam of Veda Vyas, Srila Vyasadeva, disciple of Narada Muni, who is one of the sons of Lord Brahmā. And this is the chapter, Prayers Offered by Lord Brahmā to Kṛṣṇa. And Lord Brahmā wanted to test Kṛṣṇa when he was appearing as cowherd boy for pastimes in Vrindavan. This is 5,000 years ago this happened. And so he stole Kṛṣṇa's friends, took him and hid him, kidnapped him, and kidnapped the cows and put them in a secluded place where no one knew where they were. He wanted to see what Kṛṣṇa was going to do about that. And Kṛṣṇa expanded himself into Vishnu forms to accommodate the missing calves and boys. And Lord Brahmā realized that, yeah, Kṛṣṇa really is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that was really the reason why he did it. It's explained here. The reason he challenged Kṛṣṇa, it wasn't that he didn't have faith in Kṛṣṇa. He had realization of Kṛṣṇa, which is evidenced in his beautiful prayers of Brahma Samhita, where in great detail and loving ecstasy he describes Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form, and the activities, the pastimes that go on in the planet where Kṛṣṇa resides, and spiritual planet. But the reason he tested Kṛṣṇa, it's explained, was to prove that Kṛṣṇa really is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everything really does emanate from Kṛṣṇa. And that's what he got to see, were all these Vishnu forms emanating from Kṛṣṇa. Not that Kṛṣṇa emanates from Vishnu, but all the Vishnu forms were emanating from Kṛṣṇa, the little Kṛṣṇa standing right there in front of him. They were coming out of him, expanded out, and then they were going back in also. So all there was Kṛṣṇa. He saw all of that. And then he started offering beautiful prayers to Kṛṣṇa. Lord Brahmā continued his prayers. He says, "My Lord, sometimes I'm puzzled as to how your Lordship will be able to repay, in gratitude, the devotional service of the residents of Vrindavan. Although I know that you are the supreme source of all benediction, I am puzzled to know how you will be able to repay all the service you are receiving from these residents of Vrindavan. I think how you are so kind, so magnanimous, that even Putana, who came to cheat you by dressing herself as a very affectionate mother, was awarded liberation and the actual post of a mother. And other demons belonging to the same family, such as Aghasura, Bakasura, were also favored with liberation. Under the circumstances, I'm puzzled. These residents of Vrindavan have given you everything, their bodies, their minds, their love, their homes. Everything is being utilized for your purpose. So how will you be able to repay their debt? You have already given yourself to Putana. I surmise that you shall ever remain a debtor to the residents of Vrindavan, being unable to repay their loving service. My Lord, I can understand that the super excellent service of the residents of Vrindavan is due to their spontaneously engaging all natural instincts in your service. It is said that attachment for material objects and home is due to illusion, which makes a living entity conditioned in the material world. But this is only the case for persons who are not in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. In the case of the residents of Vrindavan, such obstructions as attachment to hearth and home are non-existent, because their attachment has been converted unto you, and their home has been converted into a temple, because you are always there, and because they have forgotten everything for your sake. There is no impediment. For a Kṛṣṇa conscious person, there's no such thing as impediments of hearth and home, nor is there illusion. I can also understand that your appearance as a small cowherd boy, a child of the cowherd men, is not at all a material activity. You are so much obliged to their affection that you are here to enthuse them with more loving service by your transcendental presence. In Vrindavan, there's no distinction between material and spiritual, because everything is dedicated to loving service. My dear Lord, your Vrindavan pastimes are simply to enthuse your devotees. If someone takes your Vrindavan pastimes to be material, he will be misled. My dear Lord Kṛṣṇa, those who deride you, claiming that you have a material body like an ordinary man, are described in Bhagavad Gita as demonic and less intelligent. You are always transcendental. The non-devotees are cheated because they consider you to be a material creation. Actually, you have assumed this body, which resembles that of an ordinary cowherd boy, simply to increase the devotion and transcendental bliss of your devotees. My dear Lord, I have nothing to say about people who advertise that they have already realized God, or that by their realization they have themselves become God. But as far as I'm concerned, I admit frankly that for me, it is not possible to realize you by my body, mind, or speech. What can I say about you? Or how can I realize you by my senses? I cannot even think of you perfectly with my mind, which is the master of the senses. Your qualities, your activities, and your body cannot be conceived by any person within this material world. Only by your mercy can one understand to some extent what you are. My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord of all creation, although I sometimes falsely think that I am the master of this universe. I may be master of this universe, but there are innumerable universes, and there are innumerable Brahmās also, who preside over those universes. But actually, you are the master of them all. As the super soul in everyone's heart, you know everything. Please, therefore, accept me as your surrendered servant. I hope that you will excuse me for disturbing you in your pastimes with your friends and calves. Now, if you will kindly allow me, I will immediately leave, so you can enjoy your friends and calves without my presence. My dear Lord Kṛṣṇa, your very name suggests that you are all attractive. The attraction of the sun and moon are all due to you. By the attraction of the sun, you are beautifying the very existence of the Yadu dynasty. With the attraction of the moon, you are enhancing the potency of the land, the demigods, the Brahmanas, the cows, and the oceans. Because of your supreme attraction, demons like Kṛṣṇa and others are annihilated. Therefore, it is my deliberate conclusion that you are the only worshipful deity within the creation. Accept my humble obeisances until the annihilation of this material world. As long as there is sunshine within this material world, kindly accept my humble obeisances. In this way, Brahmā, the master of this universe, after offering humble and respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and circumambulating him 3 times, was ready to return to his abode known as Brahmaloka. By his gesture, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gave him permission to return. As soon as Brahmā left, Lord Sri Kṛṣṇa immediately appeared as he had on the very day the cows and cowherd boys had vanished. Kṛṣṇa had left his friends on the bank of the Yamuna while they were engaged in lunch, and although he returned exactly 1 year later, the cowherd boys thought that he had returned just within a second. That is the way of Kṛṣṇa's different energies and activities. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Kṛṣṇa himself is residing in everyone's heart, and he causes both remembrance and forgetfulness. All living entities are controlled by the supreme energy of the Lord, and sometimes they remember and sometimes they forget their constitutional position. His friends, being controlled in such a way, could not understand that for 1 whole year they were absent from the Yamuna bank and were under the spell of Brahma's illusion. When Kṛṣṇa appeared before the boys, they thought, "Kṛṣṇa has returned within a minute." They began to laugh, thinking that Kṛṣṇa was not willing to leave their lunchtime company. They were very jubilant and invited him, "Dear friend Kṛṣṇa, you have come back so quickly. All right, we have not as yet begun our lunch, and not even taken 1 morsel of food, so please come, join us, let us eat together." Kṛṣṇa smiled and accepted their invitation, and he began to enjoy the lunchtime company of his friends. While eating, Kṛṣṇa was thinking, "These boys believe that I have come back within a second, but they do not know that for the last year I have been involved with the mystic activities of Lord Brahmā." After finishing their lunch, Kṛṣṇa and his friends and calves began to return to their Brajabhumi homes. While passing, they enjoyed seeing the dead carcass of a Asura in the shape of a giant serpent. When Kṛṣṇa returned home to Brajabhumi, he was seen by all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. He was wearing a peacock feather in his helmet, which was also decorated with forest flowers. Kṛṣṇa was also garlanded with flowers and painted with different colored minerals collected from the caves of Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Hill is always famous for supplying natural red dyes, and Kṛṣṇa and his friends painted their bodies with them. Each of them had a bugle made of buffalo horn and a stick and a flute, and each called his respective calves by their particular names. They were so proud of Kṛṣṇa's wonderful activities that while entering the village, they all sang his glories. All the gopis in Vrindavan saw beautiful Kṛṣṇa entering the village. The boys composed nice songs describing how they were saved from being swallowed by the great serpent and how the serpent was killed. Some described Kṛṣṇa as the son of Yasoda and others as the son of Nanda Maharaj. "He is so wonderful that he has saved us from the clutches of the great serpent and killed him," they said. But little did they know that 1 year had passed since the killing of Aghasura. In this regard, Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami how the inhabitants of Vrindavan suddenly developed so much love for Kṛṣṇa, although Kṛṣṇa was not a member of any of their families. Maharaj Parikshit inquired, during the absence of the original cowherd boys, when Kṛṣṇa expanded himself, why is it that the boys' parents became more loving toward him than toward their own sons? And also, why did the cows become so loving toward their calves, more than toward their own calves? Sukadeva Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit that every living entity is actually most attracted to his own self. Outward paraphernalia such as home, family, friends, country, society, wealth, opulence, reputation, etc. are only secondary in pleasing the living entity. They please only because they bring pleasure to the self. For this reason, one is self-centered and is attached to his body and self more than he is to relatives, like wife, children, and friends. If there is some immediate danger to one's own person, he first of all takes care of himself, then others. That's natural. That means, more than anything else, he loves his own self. The next important object of affection after his own self is his material body. A person who has no information of the spirit soul is very much attached to his material body, so much so that even in old age he wants to preserve the body in so many artificial ways, thinking that his old and broken body can be saved. Kṛṣṇa, 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 Kṛṣṇa. Time to chant Hare Krishna. Everyone is working hard, day and night, just to give pleasure to his own self, under either the bodily or the spiritual concept of life. We are attached to material possessions because they give pleasure to the senses or to the body. The attachment to the body is there only because the I, the spirit soul, is within the body. Similarly, when one is further advanced, he knows that the spirit soul is pleasing because it is part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa. Ultimately, it is Kṛṣṇa who is pleasing and all attractive. He is the super soul of everything. And in order to give us this information, Kṛṣṇa descends and tells us that the all-attractive center is he himself. Without being an expansion of Kṛṣṇa, nothing can be attractive. Whatever is attractive within the cosmic manifestation is due to Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa is therefore the reservoir of all pleasure. The active principle of everything is Kṛṣṇa, and highly elevated transcendentalists see everything in connection with him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that a Mahabhagavata, or highly advanced devotee, sees Kṛṣṇa as the active principle in all movable and immovable living entities. Therefore, he sees everything within this cosmic manifestation in relation to Kṛṣṇa. For the fortunate person who has taken shelter of Kṛṣṇa as everything, liberation is already there. He is no longer in the material world. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Whoever is engaged in the devotional service of Kṛṣṇa is already on the Brahmā, or spiritual platform. The very name Kṛṣṇa suggests piety and liberation. Anyone who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa enters the boat for crossing over the ocean of nescience. For him, this vast ocean of the material manifestation becomes as insignificant as a hoofprint. Kṛṣṇa is the center of all great souls, and he is the shelter of the material worlds. For one who was on the platform of Krishna consciousness, Vaikuntha, or the spiritual world, is not far away. He does not live within the material world, where there is danger at every step. In this way, Krishna consciousness was fully explained by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Pariksit. Sukadeva Goswami even recited to the king the statements and prayers of Lord Brahmā. These descriptions of Lord Krishna's pastimes with his cowherd boys, his eating with them on the bank of the Yamuna, and Lord Brahma's prayers unto him are all transcendental subject matters. Anyone who hears, recites, or chants them surely gets all his spiritual desires fulfilled. Thus, Krishna's childhood pastimes, his sporting with Balaram and Vrindavan, are described. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 14th chapter of Kṛṣṇa, prayers offered by Lord Brahmā to Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the next chapter is the killing of Dinakasura. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Time to chant some more rounds. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is such an unusual area to live in. This Gainesville, Alachua, especially Alachua area. There are whole neighborhoods of devotees. Whole neighborhoods, like 3 or 4 streets, it's all devotees. And since it's kind of a rural area, so when you get out a little more into the rural part, out of the city limits and into the county, there's some county roads, and off of the county roads there are dirt roads. And they don't look like anything. You don't know, is it just a driveway? What is it? But you go down the dirt road, there's all houses in there. But mostly single wides and double wides. It's Florida, so construction, not everybody has a house. They have the modular homes and the prefabs, and because it's almost a tropical climate, so they don't make big, So I went down one of those roads today. A friend offered for me to take some concrete blocks I needed. I'm doing something here with the porch and the garden and some concrete blocks that they weren't using. And they said, well, just take them. So I went down down the county road, and then off of the county road I took the little dirt road, and then another little dirt road off of that dirt road. And there's all devotees all in there. There's all devotees. And the weather was a little nice today, so some of them were riding, a mother and her son and a neighbor. They were riding their bicycles all around, and someone else was just walking to go to the mailbox to get the mail. It was all devotees. Every house, practically speaking. It's an amazing area. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's saturated with devotees. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And even when you go in the stores, a lot of times it's devotees where devotees have to work, support. So they're working there, in the home improvement store. They're working in there. One devotee, he's head of the plumbing department. Somebody else is head of this department or just works in that department or is a cashier or something. And it's practically like that. You go to the supermarket, there's devotees everywhere. There's all devotees. Hare Kṛṣṇa. And it's a really pious area. The Christian, the churches and everything, they're very, and everyone's very amicable and very friendly. And the Christians are just, they're delightful. I mean, they're really, the whole area is really very, it's pretty high, spiritual area. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Everyone like tries to help each other, you know. Do you need help carrying something, or here, let me hold the door for you, ma'am, you know. So it's a pretty incredible area, actually. Kṛṣṇa, yeah. Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya.